All right, so I came out to start the Jeep the other day, and and then it didn't start at all. It didn't turn over with the key. So I've been told it's an ignition switch. The dealer, well, muffler man rather, told me it was $450 roughly to fix parts and labor. The part found on Advance Auto, $50 after shipping. It cost me $50. That includes $8.99 to have it delivered same day. I ordered it at 9:15 my time. It was here by 10:41. So I have the part here. This is what it looks like. This is the brand new ignition switch from Chrysler Jeep. I have already done some of the work here. I have removed the ignition and the switch down here. It was very simple to do. Some instructions tell you to remove the whole dash. If you find that you need to, you just remove these screws. I think there's 16 of them. Keep them in a safe place. This pops right off. In my case, I didn't need to remove the dash. What I did is I popped this little plastic piece here out in front of the ignition, and there were two little screws that any standard screwdriver with a socket set, you can pop them off. That allows it to come down. Now there's one more screw here that needs to be undone. Once this screw is removed, this thing pops right off. Unplug this, plug the new one right in, and then pop it back into place, and we should be good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I'll check back in as soon as I'm done, and we'll see how it went. Okay, so I got that screw out. That's right there where you see where that hole is. One more thing that I will note when removing this, if you see that red tab up there, you need to move this tab, this piece over to, sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand, push it that way. That's going to allow that ignition switch to release. So make sure before you start pulling and tugging that this tab, you have pulled it over. Alright, so I'm examining the old ignition switch here, and it's hard to tell. If you look real deep in there, you might see how way deep in that crevasse that hole is kind of bored out over the years. This is a 2006. It looks like it may have had the recall ignition switch put on, so I'm not sure the age of this. And then compare that to the new one, and you can see how crisp that is. You can see a clearly defined round hole there. So I'm hoping that's the problem and that fixes this. So I'm going to install this in there and we'll see what happens. Alright, so I got the new one put in, and it took a little bit of a firm push because there's a clip that it needs to clip in there. Once I got that pushed into the ignition, then I reattached this. I went ahead and pushed that red tab back in, and it's important to note that I disconnected the battery before I started doing any of this because we're dealing with electrical parts. So the first step before I try this out is to pop the hood and put the battery terminals back in place. And then I'm going to put the key in, turn it over, and see if we have the engine starting. Alright guys, so to finish my ignition switch video, I changed it out. I put it right back in place of where the previous one was. You could tell the damage from the previous video. I put it in and put everything back together, and it didn't work. And I knew the ignition switch was bad, so it baffled me, and I was frustrated, and I just sat for a little while. And then at the end of the day, my wife got home, and I said, let me just check the battery. I took her battery out, put it in mine, and she roared to life. So in addition to the ignition switch, I have a faulty battery. The battery was 4 years old, but I'm gonna get that fixed tomorrow. But the ignition switch change out was a success. $50 instead of the 400 something that muffler man was trying to offer me. Now I'm kicking back at my pool here in Florida, and I'm gonna have a beer or two.